Will you be a merciful or vengeful deity? Benevolent or cruel? The choice is yours in Deify, a mythical solo role-playing game that uses tarot cards where you are a god, controlling all of your followers. Let's break it down. These mortals will never even see the likes of water again, if they do not do my bidding, for I am the god of water. Well, sheesh, I don't know what all that was, but hello everybody, my name is Turk. Welcome back to the Grouch Couch. Around here, we all different kinds of weird TTRPG things, but yes, today, my friends, we're focusing on Deify. This right here is a beautiful looking book right here. And today, I'm going to teach you how to play it, and I'm going to do an actual play of it. So I'm going to teach as I play, which should be a lot of fun. And the cool thing about this is you can have all different kinds of endings and outcomes, and you can play however you want to play. So, spoiler free on this day. Now remember, my friends, if you want to pick this up for yourself, or even the beautiful tarot cards that I will be using today, if you want to pick those up for yourself, there will be links down in the description for you to pick up all this stuff for yourself. And by you clickety-clacking on them links down in the description to help support the show, it allows me to continue making cool stuff on cool stuff. So thank you so much for supporting said show. That's right. My camera here doesn't do it very good justice, but it has this golden embossing on it that is just really, really cool, and I like it a lot. And it's this nice, beautiful hardcover. You know how much I am a sucker for a hardcover. But it's full of really awesome art and a lot of cool rules, and of course, it's got a bunch of blank prompt responses in the back here, which I have learned my lesson and I will not be writing in any of my books, okay? Especially because sometimes I give them away to you guys. Make sure to follow us on socials so you can earn some shit for free. That's right. Just for being a part of the Couch crew, baby. I was going to try to get you a page count, because look at this. Wow. Alrighty, beautiful color on the inside of this book. Look, this isn't a review. This is kind of like a how-to and actual play is what we're doing today. But I did want to cover it a little bit because this book is dang beautiful. So this book was made and it was illustrated by Mia Triwartha, and I love shouting out all the artists in my video because these folks kill it. To the runaways across cities and oceans, let the adventures never end. I'm gonna get us a zoom going so you guys can read along with me. I love the zoom part. Ready? All right, very good. Table of contents, yes. Fully arted pages, yes. All right, so what is Deify here? It is a creative writing RPG that allows players to chart the story of a god from the moment they were thought into existence to either the death of their final follower or until they are abandoned by their last believer. Based on mythology from around the world, Deify is for the people who spent all night reading about gods and monsters, heroes and tragedies. This is your opportunity to live those stories and make them your own. Create and develop your deity's life by answering story prompts and managing attributes, all navigated by the pull of the cards. Watch as your god transforms throughout their lifetime, changed by the people and events they encounter. How you keep track of this story is your choice, but you may use the notebook in the back of this book to express yourself as you see fit, whether that be prose, poetry, or even sketches. Additionally, thank you to the playtesters who helped this project come to life. Most importantly, this is your story, so make it your own and create something epic. Very cool. Again, fully arted, beautiful pages. Hey, look at this cool looking god thing right here. It's very cool. All right, the basic rules. Galia, the enduring one, god of strength. A mother's knees start to buckle under the weight of the boulder as her babies lie beneath her. Alone after a landslide, the woman prays not for physical strength, but for the strength to endure, to hold on until help can arrive. Created in that moment, Galia infuses the mother with her godly strength, taking the woman's burden as her own. The mother survives, and as the legend grows, more children see the enduring one as their protector, adding their wishes to the weight of the stone always on her shoulders. But Galia never complains. She is responsible for the children's happiness and safety, and she bears it with pride. It's very cool. So it's like your god comes into existence whenever they're needed, which is kind of cool. I have no idea what I recorded for the intro. I always try to do something in costume, so I guess that will kind of tell you what my god ends up as. All right. A lot of text on this page, but have no fear because I'm here to help you decipher it. Especially because I think a lot of the how-to is in the front, and then after that, it's all just prompts. So we've got only a couple pages of how to play right here. It looks like maybe 4 or 5, and then it's all just prompts that come in hand with the deck of cards, the tarot cards. It's kind of cool. Like, it looks overwhelming, but this book really is honestly kind of simple. And I love that. I love simplicity, but detail, right? All right, so now the basic rules, and big shout out to this art piece.
One of my favorites in the book. This game is run by pulling cards from a tarot deck or, excuse me, by using a standard deck of playing cards and an online generator for their major arcana, which is possible. You can do it. I'm not going to do a tutorial on this though, but you can use basic cards to play this as well. First, we must separate the minor and major arcana cards into 2 decks. Let's do that now. Which means I get to pull out my beautiful Daydream Tarot deck. I like these a lot. I spent a long time. If you're into tarot cards, you know it as well as I do. You're going to spend a long time. There are so many themed tarot card decks out there. I mean, oh my goodness. So finding one that you actually like is kind of hard to do. And this is one that I found that I really like. The art on the back here is really simple. Okay. It's nothing crazy and I like it a lot. But the art on the inside is really fun. It's evocative in this way that almost helps me with my prompts when I'm solo playing with tarot cards, right? Some of them are upside down. I've already done a lot of shuffling here. These cards are just beautiful. So definitely take a gander at these cards while we're playing because they're really, really cool. All right, so I've separated everything into 2 piles. First of all, we've got our major arcana here. Gosh, these cards are beautiful. And again, if you want them for yourself, link in description. And we've got our minor arcana here. And the way that I always shuffle cards is my suggestion to you is you could do a normal shuffle like this. I always do it like that, and my witchy girlfriend hates me for this, but I actually will then separate the deck. I rotate it, right, like that, and then I shuffle again. So you can get upside down and downside up. That's my suggestion for shuffling tarot cards. During the game, you will draw 1 card from the major arcana deck, followed by 3 from the minor. So 1 and 3. Follow that pattern until you pull the world card from the major arcana deck. Each card corresponds to a specific prompt. These will often feature conflicts your god is experiencing. The prompts will also affect your character's attributes, changing how they develop as the game is played. Players choose how to resolve these conflicts before moving on to the next pull. The prompts can be answered in short sentences, long paragraphs, or even as part of a poem. Major arcana cards represent minor events that your god is experiencing, such as the emergence of a new pantheon or a war breaking out amongst the mortals. Conversely, major arcana cards signify big changes for your deity. The moments that myths are written about, the prompts on these cards should have an impact on the rest of your deity's story. Major arcana cards have 2 other abilities that distinguish them from the minor. First, they can modify the game's rules, giving the player a new ability or challenge for the next set of pulls. For example, whenever you would normally gain epithet, I still can't pronounce that, and I never have been able to, don't hate me, you now gain a domain instead. These new rules stay in effect until your next major arcana card is played. So you do major, then 3 minor. The game always begins with the Fool card and ends whenever the World card is played. Additionally, there are 3 phases of play that tell you which corresponding prompt to answer for each minor arcana called pulled. You begin in the birth phase with the Fool, shift to the prime phase after the Chariot, and either the decline phase when you play the Tower card, and enter the decline phase when you enter the Tower card. You can enter the latter 2 phases in any order, but if you wish for a more seamless story, you may choose to remove the Tower from the deck at the beginning of play until the Chariot card is pulled. So you will go through your deity's prime phases before their decline phase. And I guess maybe we should do that. So we'll go through here, and we start with the Fool, so we're also looking for that. Here we found the Chariot, but that stays. The Tower, and then we have the Fool, which I guess we'll put on top. And these cards here also have numbers at the top, which is kind of fun. So you can use them for other reasons. And I mean, obviously the minor arcana has numbers at top, but you know what I mean. You can use the major arcana. I think it goes up to 20. You can use them as kind of like a D20 roll if you wanted to. Kind of fun. 1 through 20 for major arcana, but it also has 0. So think about that. Okay, so we're pulling the Tower out until later. The player can choose to continue the game before playing the world for as long as they wish. But for a quicker game, players may choose to pick the Chariot as their first major arcana pull after the Fool, the Tower as their second, and finally the world. So you could just do 4 phases for a quicker game if you just want those only arcana cards. We'll kind of see as we go, because I kind of just want to explore today. We're just exploring. So then we have our 4 phases. Again, it reminds us the Fool, the Chariot, the Tower, and the end is the world. So the Fool begins the birth phase, the beginning of the god's existence, where everything is new and overwhelming. The Chariot signifies the start of the prime phase, where a god settles into their power and understands how best to influence the world. The Tower heralds the god's decline phase, where through their own actions or the actions of others, the god's influence begins to wane. And the world, at the end of your god's life, the world, here your following and power are completely gone and you fade into oblivion. Then we have the tarot in the game. In Deify, each suit represents a different aspect of the god's life and how they interact with the world around them. We have the cups, the wands, the swords, and the pentacles, of course. So cups represents the worshippers. Wands concern your relationship with other gods. Swords dictate your champions. Pentacles determine how you interact with the mortal world. Cool. And then we get into creating our deity.
Hey, if you do not like and subscribe to this video right now, I will bring down my wrath of water on you. So do it. Like and subscribe to join the Couch Crew or fear the wrath of the water god.
So we create our deity. First of all, in the back, I showed you earlier, there are a bunch of prompt pages, but there are also character sheet pages. And the important thing to remember with these character sheet pages is that there is a couple of them, right? They're all front and back. You can see each one of these pages is one. So I'm going to hate myself for this later, but I did go ahead and just pull a page out so I don't have to go back and forth while playing the game. So I have it here. Now you get attributes and characteristics, and the attributes are kind of like the main thing that your god kind of does. They are domains, epithets, and practices. And you can see in the character sheet, we have domains, practices, and epithets, right? And so domains are kind of basically what you control in the world. So for this, it says anything from women to reign to death. And epithets are what the people call you, like the golden eye or the light of dawn or the god of strength or something like that. Because it says in here, it's bad luck to call a god by its true name. We love that. Lastly are the practices, which are the ways the followers perform their worship. It says some things will happen organically, like the god being invoked during an athletic competition or the god of fortune. People are throwing coins into the river, basically. It says that occasionally prompts will dictate that you either gain or lose an attribute, and in that case, you may choose which type of attribute is affected, which will probably do depending on the prompt, right? So that's very good. And also a lot of the practices may come via prompts in the book as well, which is kind of what we're hoping for, because I kind of want this to happen organically, and then let it develop. It's kind of cool. Right, so before we start writing that down, we also get a champion. So beyond our otherworldly aspects, we have a specific human that carries out our will in the mortal world. Those are called champions. Their backstories and actions should reflect that they're being watched over by their god. A champion for a god of love should be prosperous matchmaker, setting up happy couples, or a devious heartbreaker with a new beau in every town they visit, right? Fun stuff, so good or bad. But gods can only have one champion at a time. If a prompt requires the player to gain a new champion, then they lose the other one. When a champion is created, you must give them a name, a talent that connects you, a short description of how you met, and at the end of their life, a description of their fate. You will create your first champion when the game begins. Then we have an example here, and this says, Kalel, a healer, the only survivor of a plague-decimated city. You taught them how to heal the very condition that cost them everything. Eventually, their skills drew the eye of a king, and when Kalel could not save the king's heir, they were executed. Sick. Sick sauce, bro. If we lose all our domains, our god begins to fade as our influence is minimized. The game is not over, but you must lose any existing epithets and practices. You may keep your current champion, but if your champion is lost, you may not acquire a new one until you gain at least one domain. All right, so our attributes are always changed, but our characteristics are static, representing the parts of our god that exist across all time periods. And our characteristics are sacred places, our symbols, our appearance, and our associated deities. Sacred places are locations in the mortal realm that they respect as belonging to us. In a similar vein, symbols are individual elements of the mortal world that are protected and revered by our followers. And on a smaller scale, a symbol may be an object related to our domains or epithets. All right, and then we still have our connections to the other gods, which, happen and happen. Cool. Now we have our character creation. So that was kind of like the explanation of character creation, which I think is fun. But we have a whole example here that looks really neat, but I'm not going to read through it. You could pause and read through it if you want. Go on ahead and pause. All right. We're almost into gameplay, which is kind of cool. Finally, that's right. So we're going to pull the Fool card, as we can see here by this little page right here. Beautiful art on this Fool card. You're just a thought, but that thought is enough. You have been conjured into being. Describe your first worshiper and how they came up with your first practice. What were they thinking of when you were created? That becomes your first domain. Lastly, what do they call this new figure they have imagined? That becomes your first epithet. The worshiper also becomes your champion. When you finished answering this prompt, make sure you write down your first one of each of those, somewhere that can be easily organized, and record the story of your first champion. Remember to leave yourself a lot of space, as when you lose an attribute, it is not erased but crossed out. After all, what has been lost may always be rediscovered. This next step is to determine your characteristics. You begin the game with one of each type, except for symbols, of which you start with 3. After you have decided on your attributes and characteristics, and answered your first prompt, it's time to begin. Pull your first minor arcana card and begin your journey through divinity. So I guess there's no real prompts for where do we start. I wish I had a roll chart with me. I want to stick to the book. There's a part I really want to pull out one of my millions of solo role-playing roll charts. I suggest you to do this, all right? Pull out a roll chart and roll on some fun stuff. Goodness, do I want to do that? It might be fun to actually do that. Here I have Table Fables. I have a whole video on the channel covering Table Fables. I really want Table Fables 2, also modern Table Fables, but this is just a book of roll tables. And in this, I think what might help me is to roll up our NPC characters class. And we've got stuff from Tavern Keeper all the way to Bookbinder. This is a medieval version, so we're playing in a medieval world. So I think that's fun for me. And what will help me determine, the other characteristics of our god is maybe where our champion starts. And I think to know where they work would be a good example of this. So this is an 18. So our champion is a shepherd. And then I rolled over here for character traits, and I got 21. That is emotional. Our NPC is an emotional shepherd. We're going to keep this to the side because it might help us a little bit more. Emotional shepherd. I'm almost thinking that our champion was emotional because maybe their favorite sheep was on the verge of death. Something happened to their favorite sheep. And so they're crying and they're calling out for help. As for a domain, I'm thinking, where did that happen? Oh, but domain could be the first thing that we control. So animals. We could be a god of wildlife, because they're a shepherd. So I'm going to write down wildlife for our first domain. Now for a practice, if his favorite sheep was dying, where was he? I thought of a fun idea. Maybe he was in like the forest and his sheep fell ill while he was with his sheep walking, just going for a walk for a little bit, and his sheep falls over and is falling ill and he's calling out for help and he's like, maybe I should get my sheep some water, maybe he's thirsty. And so he runs over to a spring, and I think there's going to be a magical spring. So my people are going to drink from this magical spring of water. I think that's fun. Then we have names, so epithets. What is this guy call me? And I have in here, I thought I seen title generator. So we have 2d12 here. Oop, it fell off the book here. Again. I'm trying to roll on camera. That's what I'm trying to do. All right. 11. Dog. We have Dole and Dog. Dog is kind of weird. And actually, I don't like... Oh, y'all can't even see it. I don't like it at all. But here we go. Now you can actually see it. I'm thinking just from these words here. I like these a lot. I think we're going to go with... I like the word golden. So we're going to do the golden... I'm trying to think of something that has to do with water. Because I think that's what the champion would do, right? But everything I keep coming up with in my head doesn't make sense. But I think the golden flow, maybe. Like... the flow, the ripple, the golden ripple, like water, wave, the golden wave. We'll do that. And when it comes to the champion, I don't want to get too specific because I could start rolling charts and creating a character like crazy. I could come up with their race and their everything. And if you want to do this, absolutely. Pull out a roll chart, come up with every single thing about them. But for right now, I'm just going to write down the champion, they're the shepherd. Okay. And before we pull our first card, because that's what we're about to do, let's think about it a little bit, right? Wandering through the wild, darkened forest, the shepherd walks with his sheep, giving him a little bit of ease and free roaming, as he does every week, thanking the sheep for the wool that he provides him. But the sheep begins to fall ill and falls down on its knees. The shepherd pets the sheep and tries to warm the sheep by giving the sheep his sweater of own that he made from the wool. The sheep continues to shiver and baa and cry for help. The shepherd quickly thinks, I need to help. I need to help my sheep. And he looks around and sees, in the darkened forest, a bright light floating above a spring. He thinks, is this a sign? And he runs over to the spring and fills his hands with the spring. And as he does, he feels the warmth of the spring in contrast to the cold in the dark forest. And he brings the warm water over to the sheep. And as the sheep drinks from the spring, it slowly returns to itself. And the shepherd looks back to the spring once the sheep has come into full life and sees our god floating above with long gray hair and a gray beard, just floating with a crown on its head. It swings around its staff with the skull on it, and it winks at the shepherd and disappears. No, he waves at the shepherd. And as he waves, golden particles come from his palm. And the shepherd goes, the golden wave. He picks up his sheep back to its feet, and they run back into the town, into the village, where the shepherd speaks of the golden wave to all of the people. For what happened on that night saved his best friend, the sheep. It's a lot of fun. All right, and so I have decided for the sake of the video not being 3 hours long, we are just going to do each phase of this god's life. So we're starting with the birth phase, which comes with the Fool card. But I'm honestly wondering, before I just announce that and show you how that's going to work, I want to look a little bit about the major arcana because I want to show you guys how fun they could be. These look pretty good, so they each have their own actual prompts that follow in. So like if we draw the magician, you are still new to creation, or at least that's what it feels like. Looking at the abomination in front of you, what kind of creature have you created? And what danger, if any, does it pose? And what will you do with it now that you have willed it into existence? Gain a new epithet, creator of monsters, and add your creation to your list of sacred animals. That's pretty crazy. I almost want to do one major arcana instead of one minor, in the 3 draw phase. I think that's what I'm going to do because that's fun. So we're going to play it a little bit different for the sake of the video. So just know that. But one thing I wanted to show you was that each one of these phases is actually color coded. So birth is red, and then we get into the prime phase, which goes to black, and then we have the decline, which is gray. And those are your 3 phases. And those are signified by, of course, the Fool, the Chariot, the Tower, and then the end of our game will be the World. And I'm just going to shuffle these because we're going to draw one of these instead, just for fun. And we'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, we won't do it. All right, Minor Arcana as well. Okay, so that we've drawn out all that, we're going to actually draw our first Minor Arcana card. It's upside down, but it's the 3 of Pentacles. Beautiful art there. We have the 3 Pentacles. The other gods have come to you with a proposal. They are pursuing a project in the mortal realm, but need your help to finish it. What is the project, and what do they need from you? Gain a new practice that reflects your participation in this divine effort. Since we're already doing wildlife stuff, it should have something to do with that. We already know that our god deals with animals, but does he also deal with nature? This could be like a druidic god of some kind, or maybe a god of water. Does he do wildlife and water, right? So maybe they're creating, like, the gods are creating some kind of a new forest. And they've come to our god saying, we need you to help create a river to run through the forest, to help provide all of the trees and plants with what they need to thrive. And so we'll help them create a river, but what kind of practice would that give us? Maybe it just continues with the first one. Like, people can't always drink from the spring, but maybe people continue to bless their water, like, help us stay strong. So they pray over their water before they drink it at their meals. I wrote that down. I think that'll do. Pray over water. Okay, next Minor Arcana. Now we have the 2 of Pentacles. Wow. Same page here. So 2 of Pentacles. It is a big responsibility, but one you're willing to accept. Maybe you have to raise the sun each morning, or care for the tides in addition to your other duties. How do you feel about your new assignment? Add a domain or epithet related to your task, but lose a practice as you are now too busy to regularly interact with your followers. So obviously, the spring is going to lose its power. So drinking from the spring is no longer a practice. But we are going to add the domain of water to our domain, so that handles that. And I think the tides of this town, maybe it's a coastal town, and the tides of this town that we've been looking over, the tides have started to get really strong and almost come up over land. And so we are actually helping to keep the tides low during the full moons. This is cool. It's weird that I went into this like thinking, like, jokingly I was going to dress up and be all funny and like be an evil god, but this is like, I don't know, it's actually kind of serious and kind of fun. We're creating this god and stuff. And one thing I will say, I think that if you're trying to make gods in like a homebrew setting in a fantasy world that you're creating, using this book to do that is kind of fun. You know, you're like, okay, I need a god of moons. Let's create some history for him. You could just start with your god of moon and then just start flipping cards. It's kind of fun. All right, last one in this birth phase. We're going to draw a major card here. This is, well, we just spoke about the magician. So it's crazy that we draw it as our example. But hey, if it's meant to be, we got to play on it. So we're going to go to the back here. Oh, cool. There is roll charts. Wow. I am such a dum-dum. You see this? Look, there are roll charts in the back. You don't need other roll charts like Table Fables. Look at this. If you can't think of any, there's some right here in the back. So even if you can't think of a domain, you can just roll for it. So maybe we'll do that a little bit. They should, in the front of the book, you should note somewhere that there are roll charts in the back. For sure. All right. We are still new to creation. That's what it feels like. We're going to create a creature. What danger, if any, does it pose? And what will you do with it now that you have willed it into existence? Gain a new epithet, creator of monsters, and add your creation to the list of sacred animals. My goodness. So it has to be something to do with water, right? Maybe we make some kind of water animal have legs so it walks up on land. I mean, I'm already thinking like dryads, frogs. I want it to be like a crazy beast because I was even thinking like sirens, mermaids. They could be reverse mermaids if we want to go joking. They could be sirens if we want our god to be a little bit more evil. There's a lot of options here. I think maybe we're going to accidentally create sirens. Like we see a bunch of lonely sailors and we want to create some creature to help sing to them at night, you know, to soothe them to sleep. But then the sirens started soothing them into the sea and drowning them. So then we banish the sirens further off into the ocean. So that's what we've done. We've banished them away. Do we only get one sacred animal? No, it says list of sacred animals. Okay. But on the character sheet, there's only like one little spot. Sacred animal right there. We also didn't think about the associated deities whenever we were talking to them. So it obviously would be the deity of forest or something. We could put that down as well. I'm just going to put siren isn't an animal, but is a creature that we created by accident. And let's roll on. I love a good roll chart. I'm so sad I didn't see this in the beginning. I'm so sad about it. I am the roll chart guy. I love roll chart. We also have mortal and immortal names we could have rolled on. Okay, so we're going to go for domain so we can do associated deity. This is a D40. That's weird. Oh, it's a 40 because does it expect you to draw from the cards? Interesting. I'm just going to do 2d20 and divide in half. Do 2d20 and divide by 2. Which I guess also doesn't make sense either. It would have to be an 8, whatever. 6 and 8 is 14 Earth. So yeah, no, that makes sense. The associated deity is the god of, which I wrote down on our character sheet. Okay, so that's our first phase. We've done a lot. So now we're going to start our second phase of the chariot. Time has passed since our birth, perhaps eons, perhaps moments, but you have become something new. You move from your birth phase to your prime phase. Acquire a new domain, epithet, and practice. You may either keep your current champion or select a new one. Describe how you change as you come into power. We've moved on from wildlife and we've moved into water. So we're going to take a new champion of the sailor. So the shepherd is going to grow of old age and the shepherd is going to pass. And the shepherd's son is going to then become a sailor. And so we're going to take the shepherd's son, the sailor. And when that happens, I'm going to come back here to epithets since we know that we have this. Sorry if I keep moving the book down out of frame. It's my bad. But I'm looking for something to deal with water. Afternoon light is kind of cool because down here at the bottom, 27. Because what if as the sun rises over the ocean and the sailors on the water, they feel like they have connected with us as the sun is hitting the water. So we could be the afternoon light. And then obviously our new domain would be the sea. That's just that. And our new practice is going to be to be silent at dawn. I think that's fun. So updated character sheet. Be silent at dawn. We've got the afternoon light. We have the sailor down here. And now we're also in the sea as our domain. We're going into water. And I think that's cool. I'm all about that. Okay, moving on though. And hey, if you've watched this far and you really want to see me do a super long episode of this, let me know by leaving a like. Thank you. All right, now we're into our prime phase. So we're going to get rid of the fool here. We're into the chariot. All right, we're going to draw our first card. The One of Pentacles. The Ace, I should say. Very cool art. We have made a new land someplace where you can explore and grow, but it is missing something. You decide to create something new and organic, a new creature or plant. Describe this new form of life, gain a new practice tied to this living thing, and add it to your list of symbols. There's a part of me that really wants this new land to be underwater, like an Atlantis kind of deal. Maybe it is underwater and it's like there's like an air bubble under there that we've made for ourselves just to be surrounded by the thing that we love and the thing that we control as a god. But I think that we're lonely because who else can get down there? Who else can be down there? So I think we for sure now create mermaids. I mean, that makes sense to me. You know, they can swim underwater. We can be with them and everything else. But we have to gain a new practice tied to this living thing and add it to our list of symbols. We don't have any symbols yet. Or maybe, I mean, we already have a creature. Or we already have an animal, right? Which is a creature. So maybe we create a sacred plant that grows underwater and spits out air. So we can be underwater and we could create this area. So maybe it's like an air plant that, spits out oxygen, takes in water, spits out oxygen. It's kind of cool. It allows us to create livable space underwater. So then we can have a sacred plant as well. And that's cool. And we could then have we could fill in our sacred plant spot. What are we going to call it? What about like Drydaria, plant that makes oxygen? All right, next minor arcana. Let's roll for it. Very good. We've got the One of Swords. What's up with the ones? I shuffled. This is crazy. This is very crazy. All right, One of Swords. You have given a mortal a task, and now they are in perilous danger. They beseech you for help, and their cries are deafened. What peril are they in, and do you answer their prayers? Gain a new epithet based on your decision. If you choose to help, you may also make this mortal your new champion. And if you refuse and have a champion, lose that champion, as the mortal does not survive in their adventure. I think I'm going to send the sailor to kill some of the sirens. And I guess I'm not really doing this in story format. I'm almost doing this in like adventure kind of like logistics format, which I think is weird for me, but this book is kind of just making me do that. It's really weird. But anyways, we're going to send the sailor to kill some of the sirens, kind of get rid of them because they're endangering the people of the village town that we've been helping for so long. They're getting closer, right? And I think in the process, obviously the sailor is going to pass away, but I think there's going to be one surviving member of the crew that is going to become our new champion. And he's not going to be the sailor, but he's going to be the survivor. And I'm also going to say that they are successful in pushing back all the sirens from the land to help save the sailor. Very good. Okay. One more major arcana. It's that time. This is the third card in the phase. The Devil. Oh, goodness. Could be good. Could be bad. Let's see. Oops. I bumped the microphone. Here we go. Through your own choices, you have begun your downfall, and can feel yourself beginning to fade. Lose 1 domain, 1 epithet, and 1 practice. If you have 1, lose your champion. How did this come to pass? What did you do to cause this? Okay, so we can go with something new or something that has already happened. We're going to lose 1 domain. So I think wildlife. We haven't spent any time dealing with wildlife at all. So also the creator of monsters, we're going to lose that as well. And I think this is a tough one. Pray over water or be silent at dawn. Which one do we like better? We still want to be able to bless people through water. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of be silent at dawn. And we lost our champion, the survivor. I think maybe when he got back to land after everything went down, maybe he got back there to see that like he was gone so long, he also lost his family, he lost everything, so he has nothing left. So he curses us off. He's like, you are no help. My family always prayed over water. We were always silent at dawn. We did what the sailor said to do, and now they're all gone and I'm alone. And so they just they're just done with us, right? So it's not that the survivor died, because the survivor is a survivor, but they write us off. Which ends our second phase, and we move on to the tower. Here we go. The tower says, the world must be reborn. It will not take more than a moment, but everything that currently exists will be gone. All the structures, places, and things you adore will disappear, replaced by something new. The gods have agreed to this. But how do you feel, knowing all shall be lost? Lose 2 attributes, as some things do not make it to the new world. Wow. Well, good thing we just lost our champion, because they're gonna die anyway. We have water and sea, so we can keep salt water. 2 whole attributes. Do sacred animals count as attributes? I don't know. If everything's getting reborn, is water and sea the same thing? I think it is. Goodness. But let's get rid of sea. Let's get rid of the afternoon light. So all we have is water and the golden wave left. We're in the tower phase. Now that I understand this game, it's pretty quick. It's kind of fun. Here we go. We have the King of Pentacles. Look at this card. This is crazy. This is so crazy. Who's the art done by this? I'm looking for a little booklet. Didn't come with one. Who did art? I don't know who did the art on this. Well, okay, we're in the downfall phase. The decline, anyway. We must go to the king. The King of Pentacles. Some mortals believe kings and queens rule through divine right, but you know the truth. They are responsible for their own fate, and when a ruler's neglect of their people becomes too much, the people will rebel. Will you side with the royals or the rebellion? If you choose royalty, lose these. Hold on, let's think about the story a little bit too, because I mean, if everything got destroyed, that means the forest that we built with the gods, they were like, no, we don't want this anymore. They destroyed all that. The spring is gone where we started, and that whole village, I think, is gone. So maybe... how did we destroy it? Obviously with flooding, if we decided to do it. And maybe we flooded the whole town because the survivor decided, screw you. And so everyone else in the town was like, hey, we don't want this guy anymore. So then we stopping the tides from rising. So then all of that sea just kind of rushed in and just destroyed that whole village. So we have no followers left there, and it's just over. But I think people know the wrath of the golden wave. They know that if you betray him, right? So now we're moving on. So then who would the golden wave side with? The rebellion or the royalty? We also have, whatever we choose, lose any domains, practices, and epithets related to liberty. If you choose rebellion, lose any related to wealth. And we don't have any of those currently. And I think it's because we're playing a quick game. We definitely would have more stuff if we were playing a long game. But since we're doing a quick one, we don't have any of that stuff. Which actually makes me want to redraw a card. We're going to call that null, and we're just going to redraw the Queen of Pentacles instead. So we can get something that actually moves our story forward. Here we go. Cool art on that one as well. The Queen of Pentacles. Through your care and dedication to the mortal realm, a part of you has been left connected to the land and the water that it consists of. That connection makes you stronger, but also keeps you permanently torn between 2 specific places you travel between the most often. Add these locations to your list of sacred places and gain an epithet related to them or the path between them. But lose any attributes related to freedom. So a part of us is now in the world, and the 2 places we go the most. It's obviously going to have to be the sea and the land. I mean, obviously. So maybe the coast is the place in between. Yeah, I mean, obviously. The coast would make so much sense. Do we have a sacred place? Sacred place. Yeah, the coast. Because we created our own little kingdom underwater, if we remember right. And we still have that. We're still living there. So the coast. And we lose anything dealing with freedom, which we do not have. So the coast has become a sacred place. All right, drawing again. Here we are. 10 of Swords. To be mortal is to die, but you refuse to accept that. You have meddled in fate by bringing your champion back from death, but what they came back as was something wrong. What happened to them on their way back from the afterlife? What will you do to make this right? Lose 1 attribute related to life, if you have one, and gain an epithet related to undeath. My goodness. The golden wave will now be rising death. Where the wet death, the black death. Because the sea is the black, related to death, right? Related to undeath. I think it's just going to be the black black. Because like when people refer to the sea at night, you know, it's just the black. Down in the deep dark, deep down. Right. And our champion, obviously, the survivor. We brought the survivor back to life. And obviously, he's going to be like a drowned, you know, like from which he comes up out of the water and his skin's all like blue and messed up and he's covered in seaweed. And we bring the drowned back to life. And because we've lost our followers, we're like at the edge of our rope, you know, and we're on the coast and no one is coming out into the sea and we're stuck there. And so we go back to that village and we bring the survivor back to life. And he is mad and he is the drowned. He will be the king of the drowned. Man, that's some dark stuff there. All right. We did the queen, we did the sword. Now for our final major arcana card is the star. There are many gods who practice magic, and you have recently joined their ranks because we brought someone back to life. Yeah. Describe how your magic manifests, what kinds of spells and rituals you perform. These powers help you change the very matter around you. When a card would have you gain or lose a specific attribute, you may choose an alternate one instead. Continue this effect until you draw another major arcana. Okay, but for now, our spells deal with water and undead. And we're bringing the drowned back to life. And I think even dark wizards start to worship us. And dark wizards start pouring water into dead people's mouths to like bring them back to life. And they start using water in dark rituals. Or like water in the dark, you know, like not like beautiful litten up water, but like dark swampy water that they've pulled from the village. Because obviously the village is going to be like a sacred place now. I feel like I could play this game without even using the character sheet. Because there's so much other shit I'm adding into the lore of this god without even writing it down. Yeah, the village has become a sacred, darkened place of dark magic, for sure. All right, the world. Your last worshiper has died, forgotten you, or worse, stopped believing. You feel yourself disappearing from the world. How did this happen? What is the last thread you hang on to as you fade into oblivion? I believe that the dark wizards rise and the dark wizards try to, you know, take over the kingdom. But a heroic band of adventurers get together and start taking out all the dark wizards. And at the very end, the king of the drowned is who they face. And the king of the drowned is obviously the survivor, the patient zero that we brought to life. And it's a hard-fought battle. But when the survivor's head is chopped off, he was the last person that believed in us. And all the dark wizards are gone. So we go back down underwater and fade into the sea. And that's a lot of fun. This game is honestly pretty sick. It's so simple, but so much lore comes from it. And I love a good game that encourages you to play with your tarot cards. Not a lot of games do that. And so being able to actually play with these is just super, super cool. Deify, my friends. This book right here is awesome. If you're into tarot cards or mythology, you need to pick this up. I'm just saying it. But I really want to know, what do you think of my little story I put together? Was it decent? Would you have done anything differently? Or is there some more lore we can add on to? The golden wave or the black. I think it's really, really fun. I recommend this. 10 out of 10. I have no changes. This is pretty sick. I was going to say it needs more roll charts, but guess what? There's a bunch in the back that I missed. So there's that. My friends, thank you so much for watching. Remember, if you want to pick any of this stuff up for yourself, please use our links down in the description. By using those links, it helps support the show, which helps me keep doing the things that I'm doing here. So thank you so much for doing so. And after that, take a seat on the couch and roll initiative, at least for a little while, or at least until you become a god of your own, and drown a whole village and then bring them back to life to kill the people of the kingdom. I'll see you next time. Toodaloo! This was fun.
Share and subscribe. Like, share.